yet. Now it is.
It's going now. What's up, and welcome to episode 2 of the EFIS. I'm your host, Justin Ledger, here with Zach Hummel, and Brian Quimby was nice enough to join this week after he was way too busy for us 2 weeks ago. What's up, Quimby?
What's up, Justin? How you doing?
Not too bad. This podcast we have a lot of topics today. We didn't really have much to talk about 2 weeks ago. It was only 2 weeks into the season. So we just did division by division picks, but this time, a lot went down in the past 2 weeks, and I think we should just get right into it and talk about Jake Arrieta, his no-hitter, and just in general how he's dominating the National League this season. He's starting off 5-0 with a 1.0 ERA, 0.77 WHIP. I think he's far and away, Zach, you had him as your Cy Young pick. I think he's far and away the best pitcher in the NL this year. I don't think it's remotely close. People would try to make a case probably for like Noah Syndergaard or someone like that, but it's really not even close when you look at those comparisons, because Syndergaard's 2-0 with a 1.69 ERA, and even though that's amazing, you can't really even compare that with Arrieta.
Yeah, I think Arrieta has a lot more pitches than Syndergaard too. You know, his slider's like disgusting, his curveball is disgusting, his fastball has got sneaky, great movement. I think that's why he kind of throws hitters off. And I think it's been interesting. I remember he was on the Orioles and he pitched versus the Red Sox a couple times, and I didn't think he was anything special. He goes to the Cubs and kind of reinvents himself. He kind of changes his windup a little bit, so he kind of turns his back to the batters, kind of like Louis Tiant used to, and I think it's really helped him. And that no-hitter he had, when he's dealing like that, he can go for a no-hitter every time, just the way he throws.
Yeah, I was not surprised at all by that no-hitter. It flashed on the bottom of the Sports Center ticker, and I'm like, oh, hey, he threw a no-hitter.
Yeah. I think that's pretty much what everyone does at this point when there's a no-hitter. It's just not even a shocker anymore, especially when it's a guy like Arrieta. At this point, you just know every fifth day he could go out there and you don't know what could happen. He could pitch a no-hitter, he could complete game shutout. That's expected from him at this point.
Yeah, even the Reds fans were kind of cheering for it. They're in the stands with they're all on their phones recording it. They want to see it as well. It was pretty great to watch.
Yeah, and this story has been kind of or at least this stat has been kind of beaten to death ever since the no-hitter happened like over a week ago. But he's lost one game in his last 17 regular season starts, which is ridiculous by itself. But that one game that he lost was the no-hitter that Cole Hamels pitched against him. That's the fact that that's the one game he's lost just speaks for itself when you talk about Jake Arrieta.
Yeah. And also, I don't know if you guys saw it on First Take, Stephen A. Smith is like kind of questioning Arrieta whether he's doing PEDs or not. Stephen A. Smith's a joke, but he did say it. So.
Yeah, that's stupid. I liked Arrieta's answer. What did he say? He was just like, I eat lean meat and I eat like vegetables or something like that. I was just like, all right, I guess that's a solid response.
The thing is, though, his success recently has, caught a lot of people off guard, and especially with the D. Gordon news happening.
Right, and that's actually a good segue, because that's who we're going to talk about next, is D. Gordon. And look, when I woke up and found out that D. Gordon was doing steroids, I laughed out loud. I was like, of all people in the league to be doing steroids, it's this guy who weighs like 170 soaking wet. I was so confused. I don't even know how steroids work at this point, but I was pretty surprised to hear about that.
Yeah, I think he's trying to increase his power numbers maybe. It's not really working if they are.
Not at all.
If a guy like that has to do steroids, he's one of the best athletes in the league. Anyone could be doing steroids. A guy like, I'm trying to throw a name out there, maybe a guy trying to, extend his career like A-Rod doing steroids or something like that. But D. Gordon's in his prime, young guy. I don't really get it.
Yeah, I was reading something today, and it was saying, why wouldn't he do steroids? Because he just signed, he's getting $50 million in his pocket now. It's better than spending your career in the minors. And so, it pays off in the end, in the long run. Yeah, his reputation took a little bit of a hit, but he's $50 million richer because of it. So, all the power to him, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely that risk reward thing. Once he signs that contract and gets that money, it's fully guaranteed.
Right.
He's getting $50 million. So what if he misses 80 games? So what if his reputation takes a hit? I
Yeah,
mean,
he's
this could extend his career for another 5 years just because he's signed that contract. He's a bigger name. People are going to give him a more of a shot or something.
I'm
yeah. I mean,
confused. Has he been doing them for a long time? Is that what people are saying, or is this just like a thing he just started doing?
I don't think so. The Dodgers didn't hesitate to get rid of him, and that next season in Miami, he wins a batting title. It could just be a very recent thing. You really have no idea.
yeah, like
Yeah,
I
I don't
said, I
like
don't
that.
even know how steroids work anymore. I thought it was like a power thing, helps you bulk up a bit, but I mean, I don't know how much it affects his speed. I don't know if that's a thing, but whatever. I mean, apparently it helped a little bit, but yeah, he'll be missing the next 80 games or so. And I read a tweet. I don't know if you guys saw the Justin Verlander tweet, his reaction. He was saying that when a guy appeals his PED suspension, he still shouldn't be allowed to play while that appeal is pending. I don't know. Do you guys agree with that?
Well, I saw a lot of players come out and they're pretty blunt in saying that if you get a PED, test positive, you should be kicked out of baseball forever, which I think is a little harsh. I mean, Justin Verlander, I think, is the biggest hypocrite. I'm sure he's done steroids, and him trying to be this moral compass when he had those, photos come out with Kate Upton is kind of laughable to me.
Yeah, that got swept under the rug pretty quickly too. Just by
Yeah,
the way. But yeah, I mean, I get his point saying that guys shouldn't be allowed to play while their appeals pending. But could you imagine, if guy like D Gordon, for example, is proven to like if that test was positive and he's proven to not actually use steroids or something, like something else went wrong, and he's missing games for no reason, that's kind of something. I mean, that would be a huge hit for the MLB, so they can't really take that risk. But on the other hand, I do get where Verlander's coming from with, why should a cheat be allowed to face him when he's on the mound? I don't know.
yeah. I think they should just open it up. I mean, I like baseball. It brought in a lot of kind of the fringe fans when everyone was hitting like 70 home runs a year. I mean, these guys they're doing all this training and putting all this stuff in their bodies. It's kind of hard to monitor everything, even if it's not steroids. If it's some kind of, I don't know, nutrient or something.
Yeah, some sort of banned substance. That's also why being kicked out of the sport is kind of a slippery slope. Are you kicking people out for testing positive for steroids or a banned substance? Testosterone? Where do you draw that line?
Yeah, I don't agree with being kicked out forever. I think that would be way too drastic. I think the 80 game suspension's perfect, personally.
Is that for first time, right? 80 games.
Right. Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
And then I think second time, I want to say it's a full season, but full 162 games. But I could be wrong about that.
Yeah.
All right, so we can move on to. I mean, Bryce Harper is picking up right where he left off. His NL MVP season. He's batting 286 right now, 9 homers, 24 RBIs, with a 406 OBP and a 714 slugging percentage. I mean, he's well on his way to another NL MVP title. And then on the other hand, in the AL, you got Trout. I mean, the two are always compared. I think at this point you can make the argument Bryce Harper's passing Trout for the most. I think it's overblown how much people are saying Bryce Harper's better than Trout at this point. I think Trout just came out the gate a little slow, and you see him starting to heat up now. But I do think the fact that Bryce Harper's established himself as the face of baseball is kind of swaying people in his direction, whereas Trout is kind of under the radar now.
Yeah, I think Harper he's a better marketer. Trout's kind of quiet. He's kind of soft spoken. When Harper, he'll voice his opinion on stuff that, transcends baseball. He's got that make baseball great again kind of thing going on, which he's kind of commandeered himself. But I just think it's marketing. I think Harper, is maybe just a little bit better than Trout right now, but Trout got off to a slow start. But I think it's more of the off the baseball field stuff that Harper is kind of pushing to outdo Trout.
I think this was supposed to happen from the beginning. But Bryce Harper was always supposed to be the next big phenom. He was playing at a junior college when he was 17 and was a #1 pick, and I felt like I was getting stat updates from his minor league games when he was in the minors.
Yeah.
This was supposed to happen. It was almost like Trout came out of nowhere. And
Yeah, Trout wasn't supposed to be as. What was that, Quimby?
It was almost like Trout kind of came out of nowhere and defied expectations. Harper was always supposed to be this guy. And I think now you're starting to see the talent level of Harper actually tip the scales in his favor.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Me and one of my buddies, actually, we have a bet going on right now. It's a pretty long-term bet, but I took Trout. I said Trout would have the better career, and he said Harper. And right now, I guess you could say it's 3-1 Trout. I think Trout started off 3-0. He had 3 great seasons, better than Harper's, and mostly due to Harper's injuries. He had nagging injuries for those first 3 years. But now you can see Harper kind of pull away a little bit. Like last year, I mean, it's unanimous Harper had the better year last year. And I think at the end of this year, it's going to be the same thing. And personally, at this point, if I could redo that bet, I would. I would say Harper's going to have the better career. But, I still think there's going to be some years where Trout does have the thing with Trout and Harper is they're just two completely different styles of players. Trout's the 5-tool guy who, I miss when he used to steal bases. That's when I liked Mike Trout. That's why I put him ahead of Harper, is because he could kind of do it all. But he's kind of turned into this power guy who strikes out a lot and doesn't get on base as much as Harper. And that's why I think you're seeing it kind of switch in Harper's favor.
Yeah, I think Trout, I don't want to use cliches here, but he's more of like the blue-collar, like gritty player. People like that about him, when Harper's more of kind of the outspoken, flashy player. Another guy I think we need to start talking about in this conversation is Michael Conforto from the Mets. I put a graphic on the Ledge Twitter. His numbers through his first 77 games are better than both Trout and Harper.
Right.
Obviously, he's a little older when he came up because he played college, but I think he's starting to, especially this season, get his name into the conversation.
Quimby, you got anything?
That Michael Conforto thing was just a curveball. There's a lot of good young players that have been coming out the past few years, and I think this is just what's making baseball more exciting. All these young phenoms, Trout, Harper, Conforto, Stanton, all those guys.
Yeah, it's very true. And Conforto is a huge reason why the Mets are playing as well as they are. They're on an 8-game winning streak right now. After that slow start they had, they're 15-7 and only a half game back of the Nationals, who they started off the gate really hot, and they've kind of come back to earth a little bit. And that just goes back to what I said a couple weeks ago. I think it's going to be a dogfight between those two teams for the rest of the year. And I still think the Mets come out on top in that division because now that offense is starting to figure it out. And that rotation, it's going to figure it out by October.
Yeah. I think I like the Nats in that division, but sneaky, the Phillies are playing well. I think the Marlins have won 7 straight, too, so that young talent's starting to come to fruition.
Yeah, that's very true. And speaking of figuring out, Rick Porcello shut out the Yankees yesterday. He's figured it out this season in general. He's 5-0 with a 2.76 ERA, and it looks like he's starting to at least kind of be worth that $82.5 million extension. I don't know what you guys have to say about him.
Yeah, last night he looked really good. The Yankees lineup is terrible, but he's starting to get that two-seam movement on his fastball. He was throwing a lot of those inside fastballs, and they come to the inside of the plate at the last second, and Vasquez does a great job of spotting it. I think he's keeping the ball down, too, because last year he was giving a lot of home runs up, leaving the ball high, change-ups, fastballs, whatnot. But last night was big because that was a big start versus, one of the biggest rivals the Red Sox have.
Yeah, this is definitely the Rick Porcello we thought we were getting last offseason. Like you said, he's keeping the ball down, really having some success this season.
How much of it do you think has to do with the Christian Vasquez effect? Do you think it's as much him as do you think it's more him than it is Porcello, or do you think it's kind of, a combination of the two?
At least for me, it's a mix, but I think it's definitely Vasquez leaning because, um, some pitchers like that, they need a really good demonstrative catcher behind home plate to kind of tell them what to throw and help them spot pitches. Because Porcello is not going to overwhelm you with his velocity, so he needs to hit his spots, and he needs a catcher that understands that. And I think Vasquez has done a great job with that. Other pitchers, you don't really need that, but Porcello seems he needs to have his hand held through some starts.
Yeah, I looked up some of Porcello's stats since Vasquez has taken over, and it's kind of eye opening. He's pitched 26 and 2/3 innings, allowed 6 earned runs, 17 hits, and he struck out 29. And he's not even a strikeout pitcher. That's the thing. He's a ground ball pitcher. So I'm really liking what I'm seeing out of Porcello so far this year. And the thing is, he had a great end of last season too. When you go back to last season, August 26th exact, he's been 9-4 with a 3 ERA on the dot, which is outstanding, and I think that exceeds what we expected from Porcello all along. But it's only April, or the end of April, I should say, and I don't know if we should get our hopes up yet, but I think it's a great sign that this rotation is heading in this direction.
Yeah, and don't forget, we also have a ton of guys in the minors that we can use at the trade deadline to get someone. Maybe if the White Sox fall out of the race in the AL Central, Chris Sale becomes available. Maybe Miami wants to unload Jose Fernandez. We've got a ton of prospects. We can upgrade this rotation if, one or two of these guys starts to fall off.
I think come the trade deadline, they'll definitely be looking for a number 2 guy. But, you mentioned Chris Sale. I think he's off the table. He's having a Cy Young type year. I don't think he's going anywhere, especially with the White Sox trending in this direction. They're first place in their division. But that would be nice to see Fernandez on the market, especially since he was rumored to be unhappy in Miami. We touched on that a couple weeks ago. But, I completely agree. I think if they can get that one more guy in that rotation, especially with Eduardo Rodriguez coming back, that could be scary. And I think the only guy in that rotation who hasn't looked good is Clay Buchholz. And I don't even want to talk about Clay Buchholz because I read a tweet the other day and it said Red Sox win percentage with Clay Buchholz pitched on the mound 0%, and then otherwise it was like 75%. It was ridiculous.
Can we just get rid of him? I've hated him for 5 to 6 years. When Eddie Rodriguez comes back into the rotation, I want Buchholz to be DFA'd. I want him to be traded. I want him to be released. I don't care how much money we have to eat. I'd rather keep Henry Owens in the rotation, who looked, not great in his last start, but they ended up winning the game. So I'd rather have a young guy than Clay Buchholz, who you said has just been, downright terrible and kind of holding the Red Sox back from being in first place in the AL East.
Yeah, I agree. And Stephen Wright's been doing really well too. I don't know how much that'll last, but it's always a good sign to see a guy like Wright step up in his place, I guess. And then you got in the bullpen, you got Carson Smith coming back too, and that's going to be a very nice addition. I don't think people realize how effective Carson Smith is as a reliever, and this bullpen's already top notch to begin with. So I'm really excited to see where this pitching staff goes as we move forward.
Yeah, with Carson Smith coming back, this bullpen could probably rival Kansas City's bullpen, and they rode that to a World Series last year. It's totally possible that the Sox can do the same thing.
Yeah, that's true. And, when you compare the rotations, it is very similar when Carson Smith is back in the mix. And then you have, I think the Red Sox have a better lineup than the Royals do. I think they have a better starting rotation than the Royals do. And that's saying a lot. But I don't know. I think the Red Sox are really on the right track. I do think at this point they are the favorites in that division. Toronto hasn't really impressed me very much, even though they were my picks to win it. But they definitely haven't lived up to expectations. And then you have the Yankees and the Rays, who I think are going to end up sitting at the bottom. But yeah, so that pretty much sums up everything I think about the Red Sox. If you guys have anything to add, you can go ahead.
Yeah, the AL is so wide open. I mean, the White Sox have the best record, and who saw that really coming out of spring training? So I think if the Red Sox can, get another pitcher, get their bullpen in order, keep hitting like they've been hitting unreal. I think they have a real chance to, represent the AL in the World Series. Knock on wood.
I've been pretty impressed with the Sox defense so far. I think we have plus defenders at every position. Even Brock Hall out in left field is doing really well. Who saw Travis Shaw coming with his range at third base?
Yeah, that's very true. And then one team you really can't say all this about is the Yankees. They've started out 8-14 out the gate, and they can't hit for shit. I don't know if you guys have watched that lineup closely, but it's really tough to watch. And then another team that had high expectations going in was the Astros. They've come out really slow. 7-17 for the Astros. I don't know if anyone saw that coming. Quimby, I don't know what your thoughts on the Astros were before the season started, but I certainly didn't expect them to start off this slow.
Oh, I had them as a favorite in the AL West to start the season. The thing is, though, some of their core guys are still doing pretty well. I think Altuve and Correa are still hitting pretty well. They have time to turn it around. We are only a month in.
Zach, you got anything?
Yeah, I'm actually out on the Astros. I've watched a couple of their games. Their bullpen is downright terrible. They've given up a lot of runs, and I think their division is sneaky, actually pretty good, which will not help them because the Angels are, always be there. They have a good lineup. The A's have been playing out of their mind. The Mariners are at the top of the division. Texas is always tough. So I think that will not help them as well. I think their division's a lot better than it was last year. And their pitching staff, Keuchel's been all right, but everyone else has kind of been average. So they really have to turn that around if they have, even want a shot at the wild card.
Yeah, the only real bright spots of that team right now are Kobe Rasmus. He started out really hot. And then that lineup, I think it's kind of underperformed. I think it's going to bounce back, though, and you got, like I mentioned this before, too, Springer, Correa, Rasmus. That middle of that lineup is, and Altuve, of course, but that lineup is going to be a force down the stretch. It's just a matter of that pitching staff can finally figure it out. And I'm starting to get to that point where I think Keuchel is, he's the reliable guy in that rotation. But when you look at everyone else in that pitching staff, you just don't know what to expect. I've seen a few of the Astros games I've watched recently. It's like I just said about the Yankees. It's really tough to watch, and they don't look like the team. I had them in the World Series, and they don't look anything close to a postseason team. Never mind a World Series team right now.
Yeah, I just looked it up. Their team ERA is 5. You're not going to win many games when your team has a 5 ERA.
Yeah, that's gross.
As for the Yankees, though, they just, last night was the first time I really watched them like the whole game. Their lineup is really bad. No one's hitting good. Do they even have young players coming up? They have all these, old 30-year-old guys. I was telling some buddies I was watching the game with, if you put their team maybe 5 or 6 years ago, all those guys in their prime, they would win the World Series. But now they're all kind of old and, not producing.
Yeah, their offensive leaders right now are Starling Castro, Carlos Beltran. These aren't the Yankees that even 2 years ago we knew. They're just bad.
Yeah, I had them finishing third in the division. I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to be right at the cellar with probably the Orioles or the Rays. I guess it could go either way. But I don't think they're even going to be – it's the Yankees, though. You can never – I feel like you can just never count the Yankees out. They're that annoying team that just somehow stays in it all year, even though they shouldn't even be anywhere close. But, yeah, I think when it comes down to, like, September, October, they'll be out of the picture. At least they should. They have no business being in the picture. So –
yeah, I just think if George Steinbrenner was still alive, he would be so pissed. He might do something drastic and – fire Girardi or something, if they got off to this start while he was still alive. They've kind of gone back on their old ways of, spending on huge free agents. maybe they will after this year, because I know they're eyeing Bryce Harper and Matt Harvey when those free agents come up. But as of now, they really don't even have a bright future. They don't really have a lot of good young players coming up.
Yeah, that's very true. And I mean, we're talking about slow starts right now, but one guy who hasn't had a slow start, that's for sure, is Trevor Story, your boy.
Yeah.
He's batting 261, 10 homers, 20 RBIs. But the one thing I will say is this guy strikes out a ton.
Oh,
I'm not high on Trevor Story. I mean, he's an above average shortstop, but other than his power numbers, I'm just not all that impressed. But I know he's your guy, Zach, so I'll let you go off about Trevor Story right now.
Yeah, well, he had a double and a triple last night, so you guys can suck on that. I mean, he's just gonna keep producing. Haters don't really bother him, and he's a young guy. He's a young player. Like, he's gonna get better hitting, and he's really leading this Rockies team, who have a great young offense, and he's just in the middle of that order. He does strike out a lot, but he's feast or famine, which I kind of enjoy. Extra base hits, none of these singles.
Yeah, isn't he leading the National League in strikeouts right now?
He's one behind Justin Upton. Story has 37 strikeouts. Yeah, he's leading the National League, but Justin Upton is the major league leader with 38.
I guess he's the perfect hitter for that ballpark because that Colorado area can just
got to make contact.
And fucking put his all into every pitch and try and hit it out of the park or strike out. I'll tell you one thing. I'm going to be rooting for him to actually win the home run title this year, just because he's a guy that strikes out a lot. I love to see those guys win the home run title.
Like a Chris Davis?
Yeah, like a Chris Davis.
Yeah.
He's only 23 years old. You guys are making it out like he came onto the scene this year. He's gonna get better once he learns plate discipline and whatnot. He's tied for the MLB lead in home runs with his teammate Arenado. I mean, they're gonna be, murderers row in a couple years in the middle of that Rockies order.
I mean, I think when this season's over, Trevor Story is gonna be batting 225 with 35 homers and an on base percentage of probably 300 on the dot. I mean, I think Trevor Story is an intriguing guy to watch. I mean, I think he's a guy you tune in to just see if he's going to hit a homer. But if he's not hitting a homer, he's striking out. He's just one of those types of guys, and I've never been a fan of those types of guys. But I don't know. You never know. If he keeps up this pace, then I guess I'll join the Trevor Story train. But I just think he's going to regress.
I mean, he's only 23. He's going to get better, but his defense is also really underrated. He's a above average shortstop, so it'll be interesting to watch. Hopefully, I'm posting, his 50th home run at the end of August, so you guys can, kind of see that.
Yeah, for anyone who follows the Ledge Twitter, it's Zach who's posting the Trevor Story home runs. So maybe you'll be seeing a lot more of those. He'll be up to, like I said, he's gonna get 35 homers this year, so there's gonna be 35 Trevor Story tweets. So you can expect 25 more for the rest of the season, and they're all from Zach. So
he's either going to be the next Joey Bats or the next Mark Reynolds, and I'm excited either way.
I'm leaning towards Mark Reynolds.
I mean, I can't defend him enough. Next topic. He's a stud.
That's pretty much all we got for this week. We can wrap it up with Quimby. You weren't here a couple weeks ago to give your picks, division by division, World Series, and then award picks. So I'll let you do that. You don't need to go in depth. Just give me your quick picks, and then we'll wrap this up.
All right. In the AL East, I have the Sox. Gotta have the Sox. AL Central, I've got the Royals. They're going to turn it around. AL West, Rangers. They proved last year that they're a really good team, and they came on kind of towards the end. In the NL East, I have the Mets. The NL Central, I have the Pirates. I think they're going to overtake the Cubs. And in the NL West, I have the Giants. World Series pick, I'm going to have the Giants over the Red Sox in 6 because it's an even year.
All right, so go. Who are your MVPs?
My MVPs in the American League, I'll go Xander Bogaerts. I think he's gonna win the MVP.
I mean, all right, that's your pick. All right, continue.
Homer.
NL MVP, I got Bryce Harper, obviously.
Cy
AL
Youngs.
Cy Young. This is the tricky one for me. I'll go King Felix.
Okay.
And in the NL, I'll go. God, I picked Wainwright last year.
Don't pick Wainwright this year.
Please don't. We'll lose all credibility if you pick Wainwright.
That's you're fired if you pick Wainwright this year.
All right, I'll pick Syndergaard.
Okay, I like it. And then you could pick, what were the other, Rookie of the Year and then Manager of the Year.
Manager of the Year. I'll start off with Manager of the Year. I'll go Robin Ventura. I think the White Sox will stay in it towards the end.
That's who I had too.
NL, Bruce Bochy, because it's an even year.
It's an even year.
Rookie of the Year.
Trevor Story.
You know what? I will go Trevor Story in the
Jesus
NL.
Christ.
Start drinking the Kool-Aid, Quimby.
Hey, he's gonna win the home run title. That's an automatic NL Rookie of the Year. And the AL.
AL's tough.
AL is really tough. Like I said, Quimby, take your sweet time.
Oh, I will.
Who did you have, Justin?
Byron Buxton, who just got sent down.
I think I had Rickard from the Orioles. I don't know how
he
he's
did.
doing.
I think he slowed down a little bit, but I mean, at least he didn't get sent down.
I don't even know any rookies in the AL this year.
That's what we were saying too. It's not easy.
How about that guy from Texas? I don't know his name.
I'll pick that guy from Texas. I'll just do that.
He's a Latino guy.
All right, Quimby's Rookie of the Year picks. That guy from Texas and Trevor Story.
There you go.
That wraps up the awards, right? There weren't any more. Am I missing anything? Oh, Comeback Player of the Year.
Player of the Year. Oh. Crickets.
I don't even remember who I had.
I don't remember who you had either.
Throw some names out there so Quimby can make a
Yu
pick.
Darvish was who I had in the AL. NL, I had Wainwright.
Oh, Wainwright for sure. I don't know about you, Darvish, but
I mean, I would have switched that. I would have said Darvish for sure, and I don't know about Wainwright.
oh no! I got Wainwright, and who missed time in the AL?
I mean, Darvish did.
I can't go with both of your picks though.
How about
sure
Rick Porcello?
Hey,
Yeah, he did come back from
sucking.
from.
They should do that. Whoever sucked and now is
You
good.
know, I'll go Christian Vasquez.
You could do that.
I'll go Christian Vasquez.
I like that. Okay.
There you go.
All right, so I think that wraps it up for this week, and I think we established that this is going to be a bi-weekly podcast, unless there's a week where a ton of shit happens and we don't want to miss it. But so we'll be back in a couple weeks. Thanks for tuning in to the EFIS episode 2, and we'll see you later.
Peace.
See you later, guys.
All right, I'm going to stop it.